So let's talk about being Chief Life Officer. It doesn't matter if you are a CEO of a company or if you're starting your career or somewhere in between. What would it look like to think about your life from the perspective of Chief Life Officer? Instead of building a career, you're building a life. And what would be the important elements of being Chief Life Officer? I believe that there are six. The first key element to being Chief Life Officer is deep daily dependence on the Lord. That means looking to God daily for wisdom. For me, it means journaling. It means daily time with the Lord, but also silent days that I take away from all the busyness of my life to be able to listen deeply to what God is saying to me. If I look back over the last 20 years of my life, I've taken 3 silent spiritual retreat days each year. And all the major inflection points of my life seem to align with one of those days alone with God. So the first big element to being Chief Life Officer is this deep recognition that you don't have the wisdom to be the guiding source of your life, that you have to look to make eye contact with God regularly. Secondly, is to have a very clear vision of what you feel God wants for your life long term, and have reminders around you, those visual reminders that bring to your soul who it is you want to be the rest of your life. Thirdly, is to have a written strategy. I call this my roadmap. I've done this for many, many years. It's a one-pager on my vision and my strategy in writing for this next year, for 2025. And one of the things that's helpful here is that I share this with my friends and family. And when you have a written plan, there's a certain amount of accountability. When you write something down, just having it written down it's much more likely that you'll live it out. And it's even more likely when you share it with your friends and family. My kids know what I have written down for this coming year. They've given me written feedback. And so then when they see me veering off course, they are good at reminding me, Dad, didn't you say you want this? And now I see you doing this. So it's not judgment, it's encouragement. And then fourth, have a systematic way to ensure that your calendar and mine and our finances reflect what I say I want. If my friends and family look over my shoulder into my calendar every week, if they look into how we spend our money, would they say it aligns with my mission? Does it align with my long-term metrics? Does it align with what I said I want to do in this roadmap? And if not, they have full permission to encourage me to get back in alignment. I keep asking them, tell me what you see. Give me your best ideas. Tell me, even if there are things that are hard for you to say and hard for me to hear, please tell me the last 10%. And then, are the people around you aligned with your plan? It's very hard to live out your calling in life if the ones around that you care the most about, your spouse, your kids, your friends, if they don't align with that plan. It doesn't mean forcing them into your agenda, but it means making sure that what you're doing is not opposed to their long-term desires. The worst thing I could do would be to put Linda's best interest behind mine. Instead, I try to put Linda's interest ahead of mine and make sure that this plan, this roadmap, is aligned with her calling and her vision and her long-term metrics. And then lastly, take time to regularly and systematically relook at this. Look at your plan and revise it, and be agile in redirecting yourself. Now, that doesn't mean flip-flopping around, because your core calling and your metrics are not likely to change that much. But every December, for example, I sit down with this roadmap and I change it, and I think carefully about what needs to come off and what needs to go on. And then I share it with Linda. I share it with all 6 kids. I share it with my 3 personal board members, and I get written feedback. So on this one here, I've got written feedback from one of my personal board members. On the page underneath it, I have written feedback from another personal board members. I've been doing that for years and years. Every time they give me this feedback, I still feel a little bit bad about it. Like, why didn't I think of that? Well, guess what? Because you don't have all the answers, Lloyd. You need people around you. Having a personal board is a powerful thing. It doesn't have to be very corporate-y, it doesn't have to be very formal. But are there 2 or 3 people that you invite into your life where they know what you're trying to do? They know what your calling is. They know what your goals are for next year. And you ask them proactively to give you feedback. When I used to meet with my mentor, Bob Buford, I ended every mentoring session by saying to him, Bob, please tell me, is there anything else you need to tell me that's hard for you to say and hard for me to hear? Please tell me the last 10%. And invariably, he would come out with something that he hadn't told me. And it was such a breakthrough. Like one time, he said to me, Lloyd, you've caught up with your dream. When you catch up with your dream, you learn to hunker down and savor the moments. You need to learn to hunker down and savor the moments. One time when I asked him that, he said, Lloyd, you've lived without boundaries and borders for so long. You didn't let money constrain you. You decided how much was enough, and you've had freedom to live out your calling for many years now. But in the next season, you're going to have to learn to live within your limits. And I was taken back. I thought, what on earth does he mean? And then I said, tell me all about it. And he told me all the ways that he was learning. He was in his 70s at the time, to live within his limits. And they were so wise. He could see around corners in my life. I couldn't see those things. And I've learned to live within my limits now. And it's been so helpful because I had a plan and a systematic way to sit down with him and go through it and get feedback. So I encourage you, put it on your calendar at the end of every year to look through your plan, revise it, share it with your family and friends, ask them for feedback. These are core tenets of being Chief Life Officer in your own life. Daily and deep dependence on the Lord. A clear and written vision, a written strategy for how you're going to execute on it. A system to ensure that your calendar and your finances align with what you say you want. That the people around you are in sync with it, they understand it, they see it, they affirm it, that this is God's call in your life. And then regularly and systematically, review it with the agility to keep it adapting. You know, the tendency in the world is to become stuck in your ways. There's expressions like grumpy old man. Well, the reason people get stuck in their ways and grumpy old men is natural tendency. I want to become more flexible and more agile as I go. And as I get older, I'm going to try my best to systematically take feedback from those around me who love me, have a better perspective, and keep adapting my plan to what I feel is God's call to make the biggest impact I can in this world.